Hello students, welcome you back to the course of operating systems. So last class we saw what an operating system is, what are the major roles of an operating system, what are the objectives. So we saw that an operating system is an intermediary between the hardware and the user, and also we learned the objectives that it is managing the hardware and it is able to provide an interface between the hardware and the user. And we also saw its role or its place in a computer. So there are four components in a computer. We have the hardware at the lowest level. Next we have the operating system, and then we have the application programs, and then we have the user. So I'm sure you have revised the topic and you are aware of the diagram. You are able to visualize it. So let's move on to the other next topic. So basically, what does the operating system do? So as I told you, it again depends on the point of view for what we are using. So there are different types of operating systems. So as we will see further in the coming slides or in the coming lectures, we will understand this better. So users want convenience. We want ease of use and good performance. We don't need to care about the resource utilization. See, if I'm working, I should be happily doing my work. I should not worry what is going on, how it is working, and so on. So the operating system should do all this. And mainframe, mini computer, there are different types of computers. Whatever I'm using, there are workstations, servers, everything, it should be able to work. So if I want to work on a mini station, it should help me. If I'm going to work on a mainframe, it should help me. If I'm on a server setup, the operating system should do what I have to do. So, and even any handheld computers. So the resource is poor, battery life is there. Accordingly, the operating system should take care. So actually, the current operating systems are capable of all these features. So some computers have very little user interface. As you can see, you may not, I don't know whether you have come across this, embedded computers. Now you are controlling a thermostat. So you are using a thermostat to control your AC. You are having a small device in hand to control your remote, TV remote. All these are having a small computer inside them. So all this is having another operating system inside it. When you say it is a computer, it is going to automatically have an operating system. So it has to support all these features, a operating system. Basically, let us move on a little more technically. So the operating system is going to act as a resource allocator, manage all the resources. See, every part of a computer can be treated as a resource. See, memory is a resource. The input-output devices are resources. So it should act as a resource allocator, manage all the resources, decide between conflicting requests, and efficiently utilize it. And also as a control program, because we said it has to provide an interface. So it has to control execution of programs to prevent errors and improper use of the computer. You will see all this very much in detail. So don't bother. Just understand that OS, operating system, is acting as a resource allocator and also as a control program. So basically, there is no specific definition. Everything a vendor ships when you order an operating system is a good approximation. So you can define the operating system in many ways. We can say it is a kernel. See, some people will keep on talking very technically. So they will say it is a kernel, or they will say it is a simple system program, or it's an application program. So all that is immaterial to us. We can just understand that it is a software program and it is capable of interfacing me and the hardware. So how is it doing? So we are having a computer system. We have the CPU, which is nothing but the operating system. We have memory. We have disk controllers, USB controllers. Here we are connecting the mouse, keyboard, printer and all through USB cable. And we have the graphics adapter for the monitor. So there could be more than one or more CPUs, device controllers, and everything is connected by a common bus. And the CPU, that is the operating system, should ensure that there is concurrent execution. It is continuously able to monitor, control the working of all the devices. So that is what is the role of the operating system. So how is it doing? So the CPU is having, see now the disks are nothing but your external devices, and then your memory is nothing but the hard drive what is inside the computer. So IO devices and the CPU can execute concurrently. Then each device controller is in charge of a particular device type. So that will have a local buffer memory. So now the CPU is going to take, operating system is going to enable, supposing I am sending some data to the printer, then it is available as a Word document in the memory. So the operating system has to take it from memory, give it to the external device, IO device. And supposing my mouse is giving an input, from the keyboard I am typing an input, then that has to be taken to the internal memory. Supposing I want to fetch a data, then the operating system should do the reverse process. It should take my input from the input device and take it to the memory and then retrieve for me the information. So all this is happening inside. So in order to do this, everything will be sent as an instruction, command. Okay. So if I am supposed to do something, my superior commands me. He gives me instructions. And hearing the instruction, I work accordingly. So here also, every work that we need to do has to be passed on to the computer in the form of an instruction. So the instruction is a command which is given by the user to the computer. And execution is the process by which the computer performs the instruction. So instruction execution is an important term. If it is asked, you should be able to define what instruction is, what execution is. And it means, instruction execution means a program to be executed by a processor, and it consists of a set of instructions stored in memory. See, I will not be given a simple word, go here, we cannot tell. So I will tell the person, see, this has to be done. You go from here to there. You will find this there. Then you do this. Then you come back. You give it to me. So like that, one set of instructions will be given. So similarly for the computer also, I may not be doing single jobs. I may be doing a batch of jobs. So I will give a set of instructions which the computer will take it and do it. See, these are very important terminologies. So these two alone you learn, and there are a lot of terminologies. So slowly we will learn everything in detail. So one is program counter, which is nothing but it is keeping the address of the next instruction. So one by one the entire instructions are going to be stored. Say for example you wrote programs. In Python you wrote programs. So that set of lines in the Python program is nothing but an instruction set. And when you process it, when you compile it, the computer is taking one instruction at a time and executing. So the first instruction is executed, then that number 1 will be in this program counter. Then first instruction is over, so it will stop, then take the next instruction, so the counter will get incremented for the operating system to know how many instructions it has executed. Similarly, now the program is going to be in memory. So in memory, how is it taking? From where it is the instruction is fetched. So that is taken care by the memory address register. Okay, so all this we will study little more in detail later. So processor reads the instruction from memory, decodes the instruction, executes the instruction. So decode meaning understanding. See, the computer will understand only in zeros and ones. So whatever I type in English, it is going to convert and execute it. So that converting process is called as decoding the instruction. So as I told you, memory consists of large array of words or bytes, each with its own address, and every instruction is going to be stored there. So the CPU will fetch the instructions from memory, and after execution, the result will be again put back to memory. So it will start, fetch the instruction, execute the instruction, then halt. Then if there are set of instructions, it will go back. The loop is repeated, so it will go back, get the next instruction and do it. And anytime you want to store the result, it is going to put it in memory. So supposing I am adding two numbers, a plus b. So the instruction will be fetch a, first instruction. then fetch B, second instruction. So first it will get the first instruction, then it will get the second instruction. After both are fetched, what should we do? Add. So A plus B. So third instruction is A plus B. We get the result. Then once I get the result, if I have to store, then I will say the fourth instruction, store result. So A plus B will be put in result and stored in memory. So you can see that it is starting, it is fetching an instruction, decoding the instruction, executing it. If it is only one instruction, it will come out. But if there are more than one instructions, it will loop back, get the next instruction, decode it, execute it. Then get back if there is one more. So in the last example I gave you, there were 4 instructions. So it is going to go through the loop 4 times. So you can see internally this is how it works. I told you, no, everything will be in numbers only inside the computer. So in the memory we will have addresses. See this 300, 301, 302, all these are memory addresses. And internally every instruction what you give is again coded as numbers. So near 300 there is a number 1940, which means it is a instruction code. And that is given to the instruction register. And AC is our accumulator. So everything is going to have registers. In when you study microprocessor, I think this semester you are studying, you will study little more in detail about all these registers. So for the time being, just understand that see initially accumulator has 3. Supposing I want to do a addition operation of 3 plus 2. So first it is having 3 here in the CPU register. That is taken, and then another number 2 from another register. So it is doing 3 plus 2 equal to 5. Then it is putting back the result in the accumulator. So like that it will internally do. It will take every instruction and then decode it, understand what the meaning of the instruction is, and then accordingly it will do it. So I told you, program counter. So program counter, first it's showing 0, then it is showing 1, then it is showing 2, 3 and so on. So after every execution of an instruction, the program counter is getting incremented. Okay students, so I hope you enjoyed this video. This lecture was mainly on understanding what the operating system is actually doing. So it is actually, we saw how it is managing the hardware and how it is interfacing. So the main thing is it is executing instructions. Whatever the user is giving, that particular instruction is being executed and it is able to process our request. So that is what we studied in this lecture. So in the next coming lectures, we will see little more in detail about how it is able to do all these operations. Thank you.